no objection. And I just want to introduce our new town planner, Delia Ferguson. Glad to have you aboard and so forth. I don't know, have anything you'd like to
Just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here. Okay, good enough. Okay, with that, we have, we have minutes from May 10th, 2025.
Yes, we do.
No, not right now, no.
No, okay.
Coming up. There's a town meeting, not June,
Oh, not the town meeting.
June 10th.
Yeah.
We do have
Then,
June 10th.
okay, on to minutes of June 10th, which we do have in front of us.
Yes. Make a motion to accept as written.
Second.
Dick, I just have to reach above you. He just said this isn't on. See if
Okay.
that works.
Oh, you have, okay.
Because we
that-
are on Zoom.
At least on Zoom, okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion on this?
I'm sorry, Dick motioned, who seconded?
Yep.
Oh,
Alex.
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, next order is, and we are after 6:30, is a public hearing for site plan review by George Lucier, 187 Pleasantdale Road. And I believe the applicant is here. So I don't know if you, let's start.
Yeah, I'm also here, remote.
Okay, okay, so
Mark's gonna be on.
Mark's gonna do it? Okay, Mark? Mark?
Yeah, so this is a proposal for, yep, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me all right?
yes,
Yep. So this is- Thanks for having us. This is a proposal for a garage at 187 Pleasantdale Road. This is at the corner of Pleasantdale and Barry Paxton Road. There's an existing garage on the lot. And the reason we're here is this is part of the Village Center zoning district. So we're here with a site plan for a garage. We've already been through Concom and we're just looking for approval for a building permit. I believe it's to be storing the owner's personal farm equipment. We can certainly answer any questions the board may have.
I can just say something.
yeah,
What happened is I had a small farm in New York that I used. I had built a house up there in the mountains and what have you, and it was a little farm, and I got farm tractors, corn planters, rototillers, harrows, all that stuff. And I sold the house. I built it 7 years ago and I sold it. I moved everything here and I need a place. It's not part of the construction business.
Mhm.
It's to store my personal equipment on that property.
okay. As I understood, I had a conversation with John Charbonneau, our previous planner. And he said that you're applying for this as an accessory building. Is that correct?
We were originally going to apply as an accessory building because it is next to the applicant's house, but it is on a separate lot, so I don't think we were actually able to do that. So since it's a standalone lot, that's why we're here before you with the site plan for review.
Okay,
If it were accessory, we wouldn't have to go through the site plan process.
so this is just, okay, so you're saying you're not considering an accessory, it's just gonna be a building.
A building.
It really is kind of accessory to his house, but
But it's not on my
there's a
house
lot
lot.
line there because it's on its own lot. We probably couldn't call it accessory legally,
Okay,
but in all intents and purposes, it is accessory.
see,
I feel because he did bring up Concom.
Mhm.
And I feel that in the report that I received of Concom, order of conditions, that I feel that it should go back to Concom again for a vote and corrections. And the reason being on second to the last page. It says Southborough, Mass, not Rutland. And that's the one that they signed and everything else, so it is not probably, I would classify as legal. It should be taken back and redone and revoted again
Norm,
for that.
if I may,
That may be, we may be able to, I think that would probably classify as a typo, and I don't think that would have to go for another vote. I think they
Well-
could probably re-sign that in the corrected document.
Is it a bylaw?
so I,
Clearly, the Conservation Commission in Rutland is not gonna vote on a Southborough issue.
yeah, so Mark, I know you're not here in person. It's the special conditions, and it's a typo because the chair of the Conservation Commission is the agent in the town of Southborough. So it was just a copy and paste error when we used these conditions for the town of Rutland. However, this is part of the special conditions and not the order of conditions that they signed. So all we would need to do is change that to Rutland, but it doesn't change the orders that have been issued.
Wasn't that sent to be recorded?
Right, that could be,
Yeah, we can just send it and they can re-record with that page, but even so. So Mark, he's talking about condition 42 that speaks to the, I'm sorry, that speaks to the certificate of
I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but that,
Yeah.
I'm no attorney, but I would think that
Yeah.
could be deemed a typo.
Okay,
Typo and not substantive to have to go back for a vote.
then the next thing, but do you wanna go through the rest of the site plan before I mention the last part? When I was in Central Mass Regional Planning as a delegate down there, what was brought up was the roundabout that is going into Pleasantdale and Barry Paxton Road. The size of the roundabout, I have no idea. Therefore, I'm saying there probably ought to be a hold on this. You probably ought to go to MassDOT to find out if they've set a design on this for the size that it's going to be, because it will and may interfere where you're putting the building.
If they did that, they'd have to wipe out the swamp for 150 feet.
And
This-
and it's, how many swamps have they wiped out before?
150 feet from the center of the intersection,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. really.
150 feet is from the edge to your garage, yes.
Mr. Chair, if I could speak?
Yeah, yes,
This is further away from the intersection than the existing garage. There has been no right-of-way layout, and there has been no property takings to date. So this is well within the applicant's right. And I would be very surprised if this would conflict with the roundabout construction, being on the other side of the swamp, and being over 40 feet from the edge of the right-of-way on the other side of an existing wetland.
One more thing is if they did say that
It's actually 115. It's actually 115 feet from Barry Paxton right away, and it's over 40 feet from the Pleasantdale right of way.
and they would have to take off my shop. If they come far enough to affect this parcel, they're gonna take my whole shop out. Because the shop is in the way of this.
personally, I don't think that's a consideration, for this particular site plan. They haven't taken the land yet.
No, they haven't.
If they take it, then
It's my land.
That's your land. I'm just saying that, you know, you're spending something that might have to be taken down. I don't know. I'm just saying that if you put a, you know, pause in this to find out.
If
So-
it goes that far, it would be the most ridiculous. Listen, I've been doing construction for 60 years.
Yeah.
If that turnabout has to go that far, it would be one of the bigger ones like we'd be in the city of Boston. Because it is that far away. I mean, it's totally a ridiculous thing from how far away that is from the actual center of the Four Corners.
and because of the speed is what I'm referring to, because they like the 50 mph, so to slow down to go a roundabout, you know, that's why I thought it was going to be a larger one and not a small one. So, but, that's mine and another gentleman's that was on Central Mass's opinion at the time.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I've said all I'm gonna say.
My only question, kind of relates to some current issues. It's a big building, and you did say there was, wetlands near it. What consideration have you given to runoff from the building? Are we doing gutters, we doing anything like that?
We went over that with with conservation.
Okay.
And they agreed to do the same thing as they did on the big building, the bigger building, the other building's bigger. And they decided that at the drip line, we would do a 2-foot wide by 18-inch deep gravel to accept the drip line of the water that comes down. That's what we did with the other building, and it worked fine. And that's what's in the minutes of the
Concom.
Concom. It was that's how they were gonna control that.
That's what, I had made a mention about that. And to me, it just said 18 inches, and I said, is that 18 inches deep, or is it 18 inches wide?
Yes.
So,
2 feet wide, 18 inches deep.
2 feet wide, 8
It
inches.
doesn't matter.
Two
Right.
2 feet wide.
Okay. I don't know, I have just, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit trivial, but I have a problem in that this is the only plan we have. I don't know if we ever received a full-size plan of this.
We do,
We do.
it's in the file.
Where?
It was given to Delia.
Tamika, she requested it, and I believe Mark
Okay.
furnished them
He did.
way back.
I have the
Yep.
folder if you want.
Yeah, the hard copies were submitted, but if the board needs more, we can certainly supply whatever is requested.
Okay. I don't know, at a public hearing, I wanna see a full-size plan. That's, so, I guess in that transition, that's, just kind of a little misstep.
Full-size plans were submitted, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I don't know, does the rest of the board feel that we need to be able to look at the full-size plan before we make any action on this?
I personally don't have too many issues. I understand your preference, and I think going forward that we definitely need to have that.
This is the first time I've ever seen us not having a full-size plan.
We can't sign anything essentially either.
Well, no, because, there wouldn't be anything to sign, we'd be signing
It's just a vote.
just our certificate of action.
Okay.
Well, how did we not get the plans? I mean, he sent them to see for this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the full-size plans were submitted with plenty of time ahead of the hearing.
I don't know why John didn't show them to me.
Yeah, or if we've had them for a while. Yeah, I guess my only questions are, so you got a good tree line blocking actually almost everything, so you can't see anything. Is that still gonna be intact? I think the way you're talking about a swamp.
Yeah,
in there
that's,
right now.
all that tree line's gonna stay intact.
That's good. Yeah, no driveway, no new driveway probably.
No new driveway.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really have too much else.
Would you have any objection to combining the two lots that you have there into one?
Well, the problem with combining the two lots, one is business use and one's residential. We got 300 feet from Route 122 that's mixed use. The other lot is my residential house, if you will. So the first 300 feet is mixed use. And then we go, the next 200 feet or so is just residential agricultural. Is that right, Mike? Or is it, yeah.
Yeah, just the residential beyond that. So we,
What's the advantage of combining them, number one?
I'm just saying that, then it would become a truly legal accessory building. If it's on the
Well,
same
if I
lot as
do
your
that
house.
and combine it, and then what happens? I mean, I'm gonna be 84 years old, okay? I'm not exactly a youngster. One of these days, I'm gonna die like everybody else does, and
Join the club.
I'm gonna live in that house as long as I can still maneuver. Which might be a day, which might be 15 years. I'm still doing excavation, I'm still building houses, I'm still doing septic systems, I'm doing everything. But today is today, tomorrow is another day. When they come to sell it, if it's a combined lot, then they'd have to split it. They're gonna run into another complication. Because then they'd have to split it, because if we ever split it, that lot would stay with David, my son David, because he's a builder. And that's where we store the equipment for that. So the house would be with the rest of the kids, but the shop is David's. It's not David's, he has to pay for it, but I mean, he would keep it for a business. He'd have to pay, maybe 50 cents, but he's gotta pay something.
Yeah, I think the short answer is we don't wanna combine it.
Okay.
Well, we'd rather not, because it's complications, I won't be here, so, but you know, I could be here for a while. My mom was the oldest person in Spencer.
My genes.
So I'm hoping to beat her out, she was only 101 and a half.
I guess, Norm, my only question is,
That's why we're here before you with a site plan.
yeah, there's already a garage there, so is it because two garages complicate the, was the first garage an accessory or is?
No, it wouldn't be, if it's on a separate lot, no.
Would they appraise it?
And I'm just saying, if, and obviously it sounds like they've changed their site plan to just be a standalone structure. Not an accessory building, so.
Okay, any further comments anywhere? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Norm, do you wanna ask if there's any public comment first?
Well, okay, yes, any public comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm having a hard time understanding what you're talking about without seeing it on the display. So it's hard to have any comment without seeing it. It looks like, I'm looking at what was posted online, like the proposed building is on a property line, but it's a very tiny picture, so I don't know if that's what I'm really looking at.
If you wanna look at our copy, you can, if you wanna.
No, that's the same thing she was probably
Same
looking
thing.
at.
I believe that
Yes.
property line is the line between the two, and then the building is on he owns both lots.
It looks like there's a lot that no one owns or something.
No, I've owned that corner for 50 years.
So it would be good to have it and someone show it, Don't you normally have it to show on the screen?
Well, as far as our display here, in transition between planners, our new planner this is her 4th day on the job, okay, coming in here, so getting all the technology together to do that, we're just gonna be a little bit patient with that at this point. So.
So is the new building on the property line or no?
No,
That's not a property line. And
if it was
there's
on the property line, we wouldn't have the setbacks.
and is there anything on that lot now?
Yes, the blueberry bushes,
No buildings.
no building. Well, on the lot, on the whole lot, yes, there's a building on it, but where this building is going is actually a big 30 by 50 blueberry cage, that's what it is. I'm sort of a farmer, so.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, what is your pleasure? We do have two options, we can close or we can continue. If anybody feels the need to.
Are you guys going to work on it right away?
I'm ready to go.
Ready to go.
I've been waiting for this, okay, I'm ready to go, and it's, like I went through conservation first to make sure where I could locate it, and they told me that I could actually dig now, and I wanna get it in. All the equipment that I moved down from New York is outside now.
If I may say something?
Yes.
Unbiased opinion here. you guys don't have the documents that he submitted. So for you guys to continue this, it seems unfair to the gentleman who's asking for this permit or whatnot.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and I have no skin in this game, it's just, that's what I say. So why should we continue this if he's ready to do it?
Yeah, I mean, we have just a miniature document. We,
Well,
some-
right, we do have it, and he did submit it. It
It's
just
just
didn't
not
get brought to the table
here
tonight.
tonight.
They submitted everything in a timely fashion, paid the fee, everything.
I'm okay with it, if we wanna close the hearing.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing, public hearing on this.
Do I have a second?
Oh, yeah, well, you have, yeah,
I just can continue.
I think it's a Scribner's error though, can't you just drop it?
If we,
to that?
if we close the public hearing, they're allowed to go forward with this, right?
We still have to vote to approve the site plan.
Okay, I'll second to close the public hearing.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Negative, no.
No. Okay, motion carries. With that, need a motion to approve the site plan request.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? This is a motion to give site plan approval.
Can we approve with, conditions that they just fix this paperwork for Dick? So it looks right,
Yes.
Makes sense.
is that good enough?
It's the typos.
Or,
Yeah, we fix the typos, you mean, in
Yeah.
a concept? Yeah, well.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's because the young lady that's on there, she's in Southborough, right? And I think, you know what I'm saying? She was,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
they've came down and visited the site twice, I believe. So, I mean, they know it's Rutland, not Southborough.
Yeah.
And they definitely have demanded that as soon as I get the silt fence up and all that, that they visit the site again. So, I mean, they weren't easy, they're on top of it.
Okay, okay, so that is definitely a special condition. Anybody think of any other special conditions we might need to put on?
do you provide a digital file, Mark, of the plan? You did, okay. I know Britton.
Yeah, yep, digital files and paper copies have been submitted.
Okay,
Volume,
Yeah. The other room, lower the volume a little bit, please.
okay,
yeah.
any other?
Sorry, am I yelling at you, Mr. Williams?
It sounds that way, but I think it's our own audio that's the problem. Anything further?
Nope.
Okay, so we have a motion to grant site plan approval.
I did second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 See, they're going with it. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay, so all I have to do is contact, Mark, you'll contact conservation?
I'll take care of it, George.
You'll take care of it? You're a sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, very
And
good.
then I have so many days to wait once this gets filed. No?
I think so.
20 days.
Yeah. 20 days to wait.
Days.
That's not, it's not a special permit, it's definitely a timeline that's special. I don't know for certain. Is there? There
It
is?
is.
Okay, I'll,
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, I don't know if there is an appeal period.
So there is an appeals period.
well, Tamika says yes, I'll take her word for it.
Okay.
Honestly, I can't say that I really know, I know special permit, there definitely is.
I've come to different things over my lifetime, and some is, some isn't, so I don't know what it is either.
Okay, very good, I guess you're.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, George.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Mark, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, next item, board reorganization. I guess I'm gonna ask what's your pleasure, we've postponed it a couple of times, basically because we don't have a full board. We still don't have a full board.
I mean, I see no reason not to kick it again. If the whole reason was to wait for a full board and assign a member, let's stick with that.
Yes.
And we can assess the strengths of the person that comes onto the board, and we can go from there.
Any comments?
Tamika, I know you sent out an email about assigning board members, was that? Obviously, it doesn't matter if it applied to us, but you said July first, it's just any time after July first, you gotta get going on it? Correct. It wasn't a deadline, I guess is my question.
No, so for appointed boards and committees, they technically can't do it until after July first, cause that's when the prior members' terms end. You guys are a little different because you're an elected board, so technically you usually do it following the town election, which the other town elected boards have done. You guys are in a unique situation, but I just included everybody on that email, just so it was a transparent communication.
Sure. Guess that means we can keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
held to it.
so we're in agreement, I don't think we need a vote on it.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, you can still stay.
Yeah, I'll
Chair.
I'll make a motion to push this
Off to the next meeting.
off to the next meeting once we have a full board.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Full board.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A full board.
Well, not a plank, a full board.
Hopefully it's a foot wide.
Well, we'll see.
Long
Okay.
one.
Yeah. Next item, planning board vacancy. We have officially received, the resignation from, Britton Bradford. And the vacancy was posted, on, our town website and so forth. We have received 2 letters of interest. I'll just take them in the order that they're in our packet here. We have one from a Lauren Williams, who said she would like to be considered to fill the vacant position. I'm not gonna read her whole thing, you can read for yourself. And I guess I'm just gonna, I don't know, not sure how to handle this, I guess, just any comments? Anybody, if you have any?
Yeah, very nice letter. Lots of different points in there, very good. She's been in town, and volunteers a lot in town, and, yeah, that was very professional.
I, for one, will say that not only has her family been in town for, you'd know a lot better than me, but a very long time, part of the fabric of this town as far as her family goes. They also have businesses in this town. They run the Sap Castle, which is a small business, also does stuff for the kids there. I know that they are heavily involved in a lot of environmental efforts in the town, and I think that's a huge plus as far as her qualifications. She talked about, putting together proposals and also bookkeeping, and I think that attention to detail is something that we could really and follow through, something that we could really benefit from, and something that I've, at least from the letter, can see demonstrated. So I think knowing her for a little while, I think she'd be a good candidate, and reading her letter just makes me feel a little bit more so.
Anyone else?
Yes. I feel that Tim Nowell should be the one put on the board, 17 years.
We'll get to him.
Pardon?
Taking it one at a time.
One at a time, huh?
Yep.
Oh, you know that I can't speak. Isn't that an ethical thing? My nephew's wife, but there's no money involved.
I guess.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How can you say that?
Okay, I guess, you're bringing up a topic. Do you feel it necessary to recuse yourself from this?
You wanna get me started in this whole freaking town? You want me to get upset? You want me to start to blow my lid?
I'm just asking.
Oh, God.
because it's your decision, it's no one else's.
In all honesty, I just soon, I'll close my lips.
You're gonna recuse yourself?
Yes, I am.
That would be from the vote as well. Okay,
That is
just
correct.
want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
I have, just leave it like that.
It's tough to have happen, but I know what you mean.
Okay, any further comment on Lauren Williams? Is Lauren Williams here?
No, she isn't.
She was unable to make it tonight.
She's in Washington State.
Was at the last meeting.
Okay. Okay, we also have a letter of interest from Tim Narwhal, who is a prior member of the planning board. And you have that in front of you as well. It's a little brief. Obviously, we are familiar with Tim Narwhal at this point, so again, I'll ask for any comments from everyone.
And as I started to say before, with his years that he's put on this board, with his engineering degree, he has brought many of things to light that we probably would have overlooked. And I feel that his professionalism in this has been very good. I'd back him.
Anyone else?
Go
ahead, please,
Alex, if you
please.
want. You know, I've worked with Tim for a little bit, over the last couple of years. I do like the technical support aspect of, Tim and when he was on the board here, so I think, that's always good to have. And, like Dick said, it can be one of those things where something comes up in that greater discussion, you know, to get us to a vote or a decision, stuff like that. So I think Tim's helped a lot through the years.
I will say that, you know, in my experience with Tim as an associate, he's been nothing but nice and friendly. And he has helped out with some stuff as far as bringing that engineering expertise. However, the 17 years of elected planning board membership came to an end when the town said that they wanted something different. The town decided that they wanted somebody else on the planning board, and then to go ahead and put that same person back on the planning board, I have a very difficult time with that as far as being an elected member of the town and trying to do what I think the town wants, which is I am simply the voice for the town as an elected official. And I cannot back putting the same person in that was just ousted from their seat. I can't do it.
Okay. I've already made my feelings very, very clear about your perception of the election. I think it's an ill thought out perception, very, very much so. For my own part, this is where I think I'm gonna speak just as a planning board member. Obviously, I've worked with Tim for the 17 years that he's been on the board, and there is no doubt he has lent unbelievable expertise, particularly from an engineering point of mind, which is a good part of our business. If he is still willing to do this, I think he certainly deserves the chance to sit on the board again. From I guess I'm gonna call it almost a little bit of a selfish point of view, the position that the planning board is in right now, we have one member with virtually no experience, 2 months, a month and a half on the job. We have a brand new planner that is definitely going to be taking some time to get herself up to speed on everything, although she seems to be doing it very quickly from what I've seen so far. Having another totally new and member with no experience on the planning board is just not going to be good for our functioning. With that, I'm gonna make a motion.
Well, I'd like to ask real quick, if you don't think that that was what the town was saying with the election, what do you believe?
I think it was, the reason for my thinking this is that it was a standalone, town-only election. There were, what, 500 votes? Something like that, maybe 600, I don't know, 700 votes, whatever. You know, out of probably 7,000 voters in town. That's not a conclusive thing. I'm sorry.
It's conclusive in the election, though. I mean, I understand
You know,
that I sit
legally-
here.
Legally, it's conclusive, okay? As far as, as far as it giving the town a direction, no. I just don't feel that way.
I would have to beg to differ with you on that. I mean, you poke out my lack of experience, and that's true. I've been in construction for 15 years, but on the planning board, no. As a teacher, when you came to the planning board, I'm not entirely sure what your experience was before that, but I can tell you that in my life experience, through being in the Marines, through overcoming addiction, through all those things, I have learned to be open and honest. And I have also learned to stand up for what I believe is right. And while I understand that you feel very strongly about Tim based on your relationship, and you guys have to be friends by now, having worked for that long, just because the town is looking for change does not mean that they are not appreciative of what has happened. It's simply saying that we need to move in a different direction. I think having someone like Lauren, who is very meticulous with her bookkeeping apparently, and also has that small business background as we look to 68 and taking care of things there. I think that's hugely important. And the issues that have been happening currently with the developers and us going, okay, yeah, we'll talk to them, and oh, they said it was okay, but then nothing ever happening, is not new. That has been going on for a long time, which is why people are asking for change. They want change when it comes to the development and when it comes to how the town is growing.
I have, I've made my position clear. I don't need to say anything more. I do have a particular comment about your reference to Tim and I being friends. I separate myself totally.
Oh, I wasn't trying to imply you didn't. I just meant that.
Well, you said it. You said it.
Very well.
Okay. Yeah.
Harry Seckman, 13 Beechwood Drive, Rutland, Mass. With all due respect, Alex, the election's over. Please, don't go there anymore. The board has an opportunity now to pick somebody. It has nothing to do with the election. You won, Tim was off, that was what the town said. This is totally different. And you should know that, being a Marine. We're into a different phase here now.
I don't see how that applies to the Marine Corps in any way, shape, or form, but I think that the town made a statement then. It was not about me. It's not that the town said, we like you better than Tim, you're a great guy. That's not it. They want something different than what was the status quo.
And again, with all due respect, did they not get that?
They did, and I don't
right,
think that
done.
putting back the same person that was just voted out is the right move.
Nothing to do with that. Nothing.
I don't see how it can.
We're talking about a professional person who has
Absolutely.
experience that wants to get back on, which that is not going to the town for a vote. Town doesn't have a choice. This is the board that's voting on that. You have to pick the best person for what you feel the board needs.
Correct.
And if you're discounting 17 years because you say the town voted and made a statement and you're discounting 17 years that wants to come back on there, I find that discreditable, seriously.
I absolutely, okay, go ahead, next.
Mike Varakis, Stevens Way. There was nothing about changing this election. I was on the losing end. But let me tell you something, sir. The gentleman that you defeated, and the election is over. It's goodbye. The gentleman here, 17 years in this town, not only there, but it was on the planning board committee as for the town charter. Also on the CMPRC. The work is phenomenal what he's ever done. But the most important thing that he's done, and you're talking about 700 voters out of 7,000, sir. Let me say something very clearly. One thing that he has earned in 17 years is respect. Earned it. You're not even close. And you'll lose the respect before you even get started. It is not fair. The election's over. You want experience on that board. They need it. And it's most important. And Tim deserves to be there. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this for 1 year and then this election he would have to run
Correct.
next year?
That's correct.
Correct.
So, put the experience on where it belongs for 1 year. Let the town speak. And if you're correct, then it'll come up next year.
Respectfully, I don't wanna waste a whole year. I have nothing but respect for Tim. I think Tim is a very nice guy. I think he has a lot of knowledge to bring to the table. But when I've talked to people in this town, the development has been a huge issue. When you look at our budget, the development has been a huge issue. And the board's, even now, trying to get some sort of a repercussion against Cleve Blair for not paying monies that he had promised the town months ago, years ago, is nearly impossible. And so if we haven't figured out who's responsible in 18 years, 17 years, I don't see why we don't need change. And when you come talking to me about experience, Dick and Norm have been on this board for a long time. We have a lot of experience still on this board. That is my opinion.
Tim?
I just wanted to bring up, and this is reference to the past, and I'm not really want to go in the past, but the previous election, Keith and Britton ran against each other. Keith won, Britton lost. We had a resignation on the board at that time. Britton, as a defeated member, was appointed to the board. He brought experience to the board at that time, so I just wanted to say the town spoke at that time, but they didn't have an issue with Britton coming on the board with his experience, even after losing an election. So that's all I wanted to mention, to bring up as from the past.
Apparently he was the only applicant, is one thing to be noted.
Okay. Everybody had their piece?
You know, just to, add to what Tim said, because it kind of brought up, Britton came on and he added to the team too. So I know we're not voting yet, but it's, the idea is we're all gonna work together in the end and stuff like that. So, whoever it ends up being, we still gotta work as a team, and there's still an appointment for an associate planning board member. So literally the two people that are applying today, if either one wants to continue in general, that it's possible that they can come up to the associate planner or planning board member and be on the board as well. So I don't think anyone really loses. Possibly,
They gain because they learn.
yeah, and you get to be here too. I think the associate position's a little different, but I think it's. I honestly, not to spill the tea, but I can see both people being on the board in the next 3 weeks. If it takes I don't know what it would take to do an associate
Okay,
planner,
yeah.
but planning board member. But I imagine we're gonna get to the same place in the end. So,
And with the new planner, we need to kick it into gear and work with her, so.
Yep, there's a lot to learn in town.
Yes.
Tim knows a lot. If that's how the vote goes.
And we have other situations, you're right, on some of them, and we have, other things that for the future we've gotta start thinking about and how it's gonna work and find out if the town is willing to kick it into gear, because sooner or later it's gonna involve the whole town, so.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna make a motion that we recommend Tim Narwhal be appointed to fill the vacant planning board seat.
Second.
Do I have any discussion?
I think we've set our pieces.
Okay, just wanna make sure. I think I wanna make this a
I
roll.
just wanna clarify, I thought Dick was recusing himself.
Yeah,
From the vote of her.
Well, no, it would have to be from the vote
It would
period.
have to be from the vote period,
Correct.
okay? Okay. You
so
second-
three of us, is that correct?
Yeah, you seconded, right?
Yeah, I'll second it, sure.
Okay.
Is this still a majority rule throughout us and the select board?
Majority of
Yes.
those present.
So it'd be the majority minus Dick.
Got it.
You know, and it's a nomination, I believe.
This is a nomination, and then this will be put on the select board's July 7th agenda, so that we're within the 30 days allotted under MGL. It would be, MGL requires a roll call vote of both boards at the same time.
Okay, so make a roll call vote. Alex?
Nay.
Keith?
Yay.
Anderson, yay. Okay, the motion carries. So we have a recommendation, which will be forwarded to select board.
Correct.
Yeah. By
Myself.
yourself, okay?
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to find out, where we're headed here. Okay,
Hand up in the ground.
yes,
Quick question. Will you be reaching out to the other person as an alternate member to see if they want that? To fill that position?
The appointment's not been made yet. There's still a chance for Lauren to be appointed.
Oh,
okay. Okay, next item on our, agenda. Site plan follow-up for erosion issues at 140 Palmagussit Road. To the best of my knowledge, this is basically in Concom's hands at this point. I did, watch as much, it was kinda hard to follow, I did watch their meeting, on Tuesday. They're going to file some sort of a notice of intent on some kind of,
Well,
whatever.
I know that they had said, they have their hands in it, but we were trying to figure out with the building commissioner what the deal is with that, and perhaps going through council to figure out who has jurisdiction with any sort of a recourse with Mr. Blair when it comes to getting these funds. I'm not entirely sure
Getting
where we
these
ended
funds,
with
what
that.
funds?
The 200, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the different, as far as, sorry, I was thinking about the different one. I know that they have met and discussed because the water is going over into the wetlands was part of the discussion, but I haven't watched that entire, do you know?
Speak to that?
Yeah, please.
So the commission's jurisdiction is restricted to the wetland across the street. Otherwise, they have no other jurisdiction because there are no wetlands within 100 feet of like Mr. Rosario's property. They have issued a violation letter to Mr. Blair and also sent letters to the residents that have raised concerns. However, they do not have jurisdiction over the issues that are coming from Arrowhead Way. That still falls under the planning board jurisdiction as an active subdivision. They're limited in what they can do.
Do we know whether he is, I haven't been up there this week, do we know whether he is installed?
He has.
Okay, he's installed the berms at the end of the driveways, at the
Yes.
beginning of the driveways?
That's good. You just need good rain to test them. That's
Yeah,
the thing,
I
yeah,
suppose, but,
yeah.
yeah, no, I was up there.
No, we don't need any more rains, I'm sick and
Well, it's
tired of
really hot
fixing
right now,
roads.
yeah. Well,
If I may, Amanda Ando, 2 Brentnell, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself before. I'm involved in that as well. Thankfully, my property has not been damaged. We have lived in town since October of 2020. Since Blair has destroyed the land at the top of the hill, I have never seen waterfalls like this coming around the sides of our property. It was like rain I've never seen before. This is 2 years we've seen this happen. for the past 2 years, just from memory. I cannot recall any rainstorms over the summer, in the fall, or during the winter where we see the awful waterfalls happening. If he installed this, we may not see anything happen again until next April, like we have for the past 2 Aprils. What's the board's plan between now and next spring when we see this happen again?
But the bottom line is, beyond the roadway construction and any kind of, what do I want to call it? Mitigation efforts for water runoff, beyond the right-of-way of the roadway, the planning board does not have any jurisdiction.
But you are holding Blair accountable for making drainage basins or whatnot at the top of the hill at Arrowhead?
Within the roadway.
Within the roadway, so at the top of the hill.
Drainage basement, basins,
Well, like, what is happening up there?
Catch basins.
catch
You know,
basins.
Catch basins,
the
okay.
regular stormwater system, for catching all of the runoff from the roadway.
So are you guys holding him accountable for that?
Yes,
What happens next year if this happens again?
it's,
Because I don't know how
Okay.
we're gonna test this.
the.
Right, Mother Nature's in charge of this, not us.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I think we should have a business meeting with our engineer.
Can I say something too? My name's Amy, I'm at 3 Brittenell Drive. Our property had some significant damage to our driveway just from the runoff that she's speaking of. And the water was coming down and chipping pieces of our driveway off. My husband had to go out and shovel about 4 inches of like mud and rocks and everything that came down from the hill. So it was bad. Our whole backyard was a complete swamp. So, and our shed in the back is sinking into the ground because of this issue. So none of this started until the last storm, after Blair had built that, on that top of the hill there, that new construction. So it's causing issues everywhere.
Yeah, we fully realize there's a problem. And it's, I guess I just gotta, I've gotta go, all the way back to, okay, who did something wrong? Or who did something illegal? And I don't believe that has happened. It sounds kind of strange, but, okay, in applying for that subdivision permit, they are required to provide, to conduct and provide a hydrological study, stormwater management study. And the only way that that is accepted by our own engineers is if it particularly meets the criteria that it is not gonna be creating any increased runoff to adjoining properties. That's a real major part of it. That's only a small part. These hydrologic studies usually come out to be books this thick, okay, which only an engineer would even have a hint of understanding, okay? To my way of thinking, it would appear maybe there was something wrong with that study, but our engineers didn't find it. And beyond that, that's the process. That's the process that has to be followed in order for him to be able to legally do this subdivision.
May I?
Yes.
Dan Rosario, 140 Palmagussit. I'm wondering if the board found the detailed plans that he submitted. I'd like to see that study. I asked for it the last time. If there are any inspections that were performed on that road, I asked for that as well. I'm wondering if those records have been found. I also asked whether or not he had a bond for the road and whether or not the town has determined if it was a bank or a promissory note or whatever it was. I haven't heard from anyone in regards to those records, to those particular things that you were supposed to search in the archives for. I don't know if they exist, if they were found or not. I'm just a little surprised to hear the planning board, who is in charge of planning and development in the town, say that they don't have jurisdiction over a site plan, over a development, over a road. if the town inspector, building inspector, were to go up and do his inspections, to find out that there are no records of inspections, no records that exist in regard to that particular roadway is really unbelievable. And here we are a couple weeks later, and we're still asking for it, and I'm wondering if we have an answer. Is he bonded? Is it by a bank, and who is the bank?
Yeah, okay. I honestly, I don't off the top of my head, have the name of the bank. I have your phone number. I will look at it. I have it at home. The bond is something like $138,000, and it is with a reasonably local bank. That's all I can remember. I will call you,
Okay.
okay?
How about that hydrologic
The
study?
hydrologic survey, the stormwater survey, we are contacting Quinn Engineering, our engineer, because they are the ones that would have gotten a copy of it. And they would do the analysis of it.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to realize that that original study was wrong. You know, it's one thing to say, no, it won't change anything, and then the work is performed, and then it dramatically changes things. Well, that study was wrong. I mean, anybody with common sense understands, people make mistakes, can't control everything, but it has to be corrected. And the town has to take a more active role in holding this particular contractor accountable. To simply allow him to go without permits, without inspections, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, no, we do have inspection reports. As a matter of fact, I pulled several of them. And to be perfectly honest with you, at the end of this meeting, I've got them in my truck. You can take a look at them.
Fantastic, thank you.
I don't know, Norm, if you wanna put this on the agenda for a future meeting, because I did email, Quinn Engineering about, you know, soil erosion plans and that sort of thing to ensure that
Yeah.
the developer had been adhering to them. And he, is in the process of putting together a report, so that would help to, you know, maybe answer some of the questions with regards to that particular development and any, I think Britnell as well as under construction currently, that's where we observed. Was that where we observed erosion last week?
No,
Was that Britnell?
No, it's Palmagussit.
The other one with the new fence. Remember, we saw there was a new it was within a new
Oh.
development with a new fence at the back.
Oh, yeah, that was Rice Lemon Estates.
Rice Lemon,
Yeah,
okay.
that's another whole ball game.
Yeah, so there is an email in with the engineer to inquire, to make sure that all those plans are being adhered to. So hopefully, if we hear from them, we can report on what was said.
I do have photographic evidence that nothing was done to stop the water. I started taking photographs very early on when the water was coming up over the hill. There was no erosion control, no silt screens, there was no hay bales, nothing. And I have the photographs of the properties at the top of the house where the water was coming off the road, in through their driveways and over the hill and down. And we're talking about, this last rainstorm really just showed how poorly designed and poorly built that road is. Something has to be corrected. Somebody has to be able to say, we're the authority here, and we're gonna take the steps to correct this. To simply say we don't have jurisdiction makes no sense. Somebody has jurisdiction. It's the function of the planning board to make sure that contractors adhere to a plan and that these plans are submitted. So it's a little frustrating to say, well, there's nothing more we can do. There has to be something more you can do.
I'm not gonna say that there is nothing more that we can do. I don't know that there is. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not gonna make you a promise that we will be able to do anything, because I've got a hunch. And again, it's, some of it comes from 30 years' experience in dealing with not only our own subdivision regulations, but subdivision law, Massachusetts state subdivision regulations. And they very simply, they very, very limit what a planning board can both require and where the limits of their jurisdiction is.
Who's responsible for inspections? I know I've asked this before.
For roadway, and let's be very careful about this, for roadway construction, for stormwater within the roadways, okay, and sewer and water, the town is. The planning board is responsible for the actual roadway and stormwater, which that's what we use Quinn Engineering for. You know, we are not engineers. You know, we don't know if a drain pipe has to be 6 feet deep or 8 feet deep. That's their expertise. And we do get reports of, you know, how that stuff is being put in.
I ask only because I'm still curious whether or not you've been able to locate any inspection report or record that these roadways were inspected.
Yeah, as I told you, I have someone right in my truck.
Okay, so you do have some inspections.
Yeah, I didn't pull every inspection. I pulled the, I don't know, I think I got either 3 or 4 of them.
So if I make an official records request, to get every inspection, that would be available?
Yes. Definitely.
Okay. Because at the last meeting, we were told there were no records at all, none. So I'm curious where they were and where they came from.
Yeah,
Well, Quinn has them, not us.
Well, certainly Quinn
They
would
can
have,
split apart.
would have copies. I would, you know, we could ask them to make copies of all of their inspection reports. That's kind of an expensive thing. I was able to locate several of them. And you have to realize that this has happened, you know, at least somewhat in the transition between planners here and that sort of thing. And, you know, every planner has their own way of filing things. And I'll tell you, I was to spend a half an hour in the planning board office just trying to figure out how our planner had filed all of this stuff.
Okay.
So, but anyway,
Who does the inspections?
right now it is Kevin Quinn himself. He has an engineering firm. He used to have an additional engineer on board. I don't think that one left, and I don't think he's been able to replace him, so it's he alone.
Is the site plan designed so that all the stormwater on the site stays on the site?
No. Stormwater, and again, once again, I'm not a hydraulic engineer, hydraulist. I don't know, Tim, what kind of an
That's
engineer
the
would I
right
have to
word, I
be?
guess, yeah.
Civil engineer.
Well, yeah, civil engineer. To you know, give you exact details of that. The one thing is I've already stated here tonight. The one item in these stormwater management surveys is that it has to show that the construction is not increasing the amount of stormwater runoff onto adjoining properties.
So all the impermeable surfaces, all that stormwater stays on the site somehow? Retention ponds?
Retention ponds.
Yeah,
And there are retention ponds up there?
No, there are none. And none of the water stayed on the site, it came over the hill into our properties. I mean,
A lot of our
that's the
properties,
obvious.
actually.
Not only do I have photographic proof, I have video.
Behind you, I thought
There's multiple properties that it hit
Doesn't
too.
affect you, Norm, it affects us.
almost
Yeah.
like Bear Hill.
Did the catch basins drain into anything, or they just drain into themselves? This is the question.
and again, I don't know, I am guessing where that is at the top of the hill. The catch basins there are draining into Bear Hill,
Bear Hill,
which goes down to the Bear Hill Bridge, I'll call it,
yeah.
where there is a detention pond and a, I don't know, 400 foot infiltrator
Infiltrator system,
to catch the water.
yeah.
Mr. Anderson, at the last meeting I attended, you told me that you intended to talk to Mr. Blair directly.
I
Did that
did.
happen?
I did,
What did he tell you?
and particularly my question to him was, can you fix the aprons on those driveways? And I asked him, I didn't say, can he? I asked him, will you fast track it? Okay, within 5 days, he had the aprons fixed.
Can you please clarify, what are these aprons? Is it on Palmagussit, or you're talking about the top of the hill?
Not the top of the hill.
That's not the problem here. I don't care what's happening on the top of the hill. I care what's happening to our properties. Not that I don't care about these people, but this is a major issue.
It's affecting multiple properties in our area, like right around our neighborhood. This is,
Norm, you don't need an engineering degree. I don't know who these Quinn people are. I don't know. So you don't need to be an engineer to say, we demolished all of these trees and nothing was going to happen. we don't need to hire Quinn to know that. I know that as a person who's not an engineer. Who are these Quinn people? Have we just, like what are their credentials? If they were wrong this time, what makes us decide that they're not gonna be wrong next time? Because this is a huge issue.
He's a professional engineer.
Yes.
He's a professional engineer.
He has a license in the state of
He
Massachusetts.
does. Well, there's a lot of doctors who have licenses who suck.
I'm just giving facts. I'm not
I'm
making any
giving facts
comments.
too.
I'm not kidding. I'm just giving comments.
If Quinn was wrong on this one, what makes us think they're not gonna be wrong on the next one? I'm not asking for an answer. This is something that I want every person on the board to think about. Because we elected all of you.
Henceforth, that's why I asked for a business meeting.
We have used Quinn Engineering for 10, 12 years now, probably at least.
So my house is in the process of turning into a swamp, so if we continue getting rain, it's gonna be a
You know,
swamp.
and I understand there's a problem.
It's a big
Okay?
problem.
Believe me, hey, I live on the other side of Bear Hill.
Did you have any
Okay.
problems with your property, sir?
Have I had any problems? Not really, simply
Okay, we
because
have.
I have 10 acres of land.
Mr. Anderson, prior to 2023, when there was no road there, I had no water coming over the hill.
That's incorrect.
None.
That's incorrect. I know for a
Well,
fact.
you don't
'cause
live in my house.
I live across from you and I know on Brittenell that there was washout on those houses on
Yes.
Brittenell.
I actually
Well, I
have,
live at 140
I have
now,
video
Brittenell,
proof that I
so.
can pull from my cameras, actually, that will
I had
show
zero
different.
water problems before
Yeah,
2023.
and you know, I'm not denying that there is a problem. Okay? And I suppose we could go to legal to see if there is anything that we can do, enforce or whatever. I think I already know what the answer is.
I think it's worth going and asking though. I mean, cause the problem,
We can always ask.
as Mr. Rosario has noted before, apparently there is some sort of precedent where the town could eventually be held liable. We don't wanna get there. There's obviously a ton of water coming down, and he sold all of those houses and built all of those houses. And then even on, I don't, what's Dory Pratt's number? Do you guys know? Right next to you. Regardless, it's 3 houses that go up. And coming down that driveway, there was a huge washout problem, and now all the water is diverted into a culvert, goes under the road and washes out on the other side. And so none of it's really a solution, and I'm regardless of whose fault it is, I mean, that's obviously an issue, but I'm hoping we can come up with some sort of a way to fix the issue and hopefully hold the developer who seems to have developed all of that land responsible for the homes he sold. Granted, I understand that legally that might be difficult, but if we consult with counsel, we might be able to have some sort of recourse. Even if it's just with the bond.
Does the rest of the board think? Should we send a request to town council?
It would not hurt to find out. Go ahead.
We'll have to,
Make a motion.
okay, you can go ahead. I'll have to formulate some specific questions that we have.
All right, we'll make a motion to email town council requesting advice on how to proceed with finding out who is responsible and how we can hold them liable.
Do I have a
I'd like
second?
I'd like to have a talk with the engineer first to find out, was the plan not right, or everything was done right and something is wrong? Then go from there to,
You mean with Quinn?
with Quinn.
We can get him at our next meeting.
I'm sure the lawyers would wanna see some technical data, you know.
Yeah, I
to
think
go-
that's.
To go with it, yeah.
And I don't really wanna step on Quint's toes. How would you guys feel about that? I know it's not up to you, but would that feel like progress? And if we're going to talk to the engineer first and then go to town council with what he says, if that's applicable?
Do we know who the original author is of that study?
That would come from talking to Quinn Engineering.
So he has a copy of that, or he's not the author of the original study?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And Mr. Quinn came to my house. He was the one who brought it to my attention that a 1-1, hill is not legal. It has to be 4-1 or greater. And I trust his opinion. I saw a report that he wrote to the planning board. It seemed thorough. I don't have any problem with that at all. I think that he is professional. As a matter of fact, I know someone who knows him who vouched very, very strongly for him, so I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and this is, I do have a little of a problem with people really questioning
Questioning?
the,
So you have an issue with me questioning your 10-year engineer?
no,
What questioning? You have a
Yeah.
problem with me doing that?
you know,
Well, I'm sorry if I offended
questioning-
anybody, but isn't that
questioning
my,
his qualifications or,
I'm just asking, if you go to your doctor, say, where did you go to medical school, it's doing the exact same thing. Or asking your doctor, how many malpractice suits do you have against you, it is no different, sir.
yeah, well, the tone was that you were almost indicating that you felt he wasn't qualified.
That's your opinion, thank you.
Anyway, hold off on.
We'll wait on town council, try to connect with Quinn before our next meeting. I mean, hopefully we can
Have
reach
him-
out to him tomorrow.
Well, have him at our next meeting, and I think probably, we would request him to bring the stormwater study, with him. And I suppose,
Site plan.
Yeah, I would
subdivision.
like to make sure how this is tied in, if it is tied into Bear Hill, so.
do we want him to bring copies of all of his inspection reports?
I think it'd probably be a good idea for us to have a backup.
That's,
Do you wanna meet with him prior to the next meeting?
I'll talk with him.
You're gonna come, okay.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that the plans are in such a way that we could see them on the screen?
That's a technology issue and I can't answer
We
that.
should be able
We
to, I mean, if we
scan
receive the
them all.
plans, we should be able to do that.
Yeah, well, again, I
How
don't,
many pages?
well, yeah, and I don't know if that may go back to before we even got the plans electronically.
Yeah, you'd have
It's
to scan
possible.
them in, if anything.
Norma Delia, what you could ask Mr. Blair is to send you the plans in a PDF from his CAD files for Arrowhead. And that way, to Gene's point, it could be displayed up here as a PDF. Because right now, I think you guys probably only have CAD files, if I'm not mistaken. And then hard copy, but he can take those CAD files and turn them into a PDF and get them to you, Delia, and Norm and the rest of the board so they can look at them. And to your point, Gene, it could be displayed then at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Sorry,
all we have to do is
throwing in
get
my
the-
technology
we
stuff.
only have to get the technology here,
Acceptance
Yeah.
request.
so we
Sorry.
do, that's been.
Adobe Acrobat.
That has been iffy here.
Norm, just if I may, something to keep under consideration is that there is a pending street acceptance request for Arrowhead Way
Correct.
Yeah,
that Quinn is reviewing, and he did submit some plans associated with that.
yes. Which I believe he has already said he does have the as-built plans for Arrowhead.
Yeah.
So I will talk with him tomorrow. Yep,
Is as-built different than what you approved?
yes.
And who approves as-built?
Well, once again, they are reviewed and as part of the process, we don't formally approve as-bills, we accept them after our engineer has reviewed them.
So
The
why
thing is-
aren't they built the way the plan was to begin with?
You don't know what you're running up against.
Sometimes there's site conditions that you can't overcome. Sometimes engineers or architects will design something one way, but in the real world, it's a little different. And so they'll come back here to have us do a separate approval for a difference in that, for however they have to actually build it.
So
And
it
then
has to
that will
come
come
back to
back, right, and that will then be in the as-built, because it's different from how it was designed originally. You had to change a few things, and then they have the plan that's as-built.
Thank you.
And even, not even so far as changes, it could very well be a thing that the original plan shows, here's a water pipe going X number of feet at 26.3 degrees west, and it turns out that that actually ended up being placed 2 inches beside where that plan shows. The as-built pick up every single one of those little tiny discrepancies between what the original plan said and how the thing was actually built. Okay, anything else on that item?
We got a lot to move forward with, at least.
Yeah. So, like I say, I will talk to Kevin tomorrow. Okay, item 5, resident concern, property fence on East County Road. Once again, as far as I am concerned, it's not a planning board issue. Nobody else wants to take any kind of responsibility on it. It's a property line fence. The person complaining is saying that it's causing a line of sight problem.
Line of sight, and it's in the easement.
In the easement of the roadway,
Roadway,
which
yep.
is not a planning board roadway. It's not a subdivision roadway. It's a
Yeah.
county road, state road.
It's, let's put it this way, it was county, but not anymore. It is town and state.
And I don't know, I think building inspector has been contacted on it. It appears he doesn't feel he can do anything about it. DPW, which would be, road safety, I think he's been contacted and he doesn't feel he can do anything about it.
Yeah, we gotta find out who is
Wow.
gonna be responsible. Let's just put it this way, in the past, the select board used to have a fence viewer, and all of a sudden it disappeared, so I feel that there are a few fences around that probably should not be up as close to the road as they are. And it might be something that the select board should have a discussion about.
Through the chair.
Yeah,
When you say it used to be a fence review person or committee,
yeah, the
Yes.
viewer of fences.
Viewer fences.
You'll-
how
you'll-
long ago was that?
Well, I think, I'm gonna say, I've got a stack of town reports, and you probably have to go back into the 50s to 70s
Okay.
in that area,
Wow.
and you'll find it.
It could even be sooner than that.
It might be,
How long has Harry Johnson been gone?
20 years, yeah, you're probably right, it's probably getting close to 20
I
years.
think he was the last known viewer
Yeah.
of fences.
So it was a building inspector issue?
Well, at the time, Harry was the building inspector,
Right.
and
And he was in charge of
he
that?
was in charge of that, I believe, yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Harry.
Anyway,
Yeah. 20 years? Holy crap, where did the time go?
2000s decade.
Anyway, it's one of these things that nobody seems to wanna take responsibility for, and I can't see that we can possibly have any responsibility for it. It's not a part of subdivision. It's not a part of any roadway acceptance, it's just, well, what it boils down to is a civil matter between two parties, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna have to work it out.
And I'm not sure if, well, once again, I have my
No.
doubts whether any law's been broken.
I think he brought it to us too, just to inform us before we
Yeah.
started.
But line of sight
Going to talk to
for
them.
drivers, to me, is very important.
It is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with Line of Sight with the House Farm, and they were pretty amenable.
Yeah.
Different project,
Oh, yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
but, and homeowner stuff is a little different. People kinda just say, let's put a fence up and it goes up, so it's.
Through the chair, what's the property we're talking about?
Putnam's property, Dave Putnam's property.
Bay State
Right next
Hydraulics.
to Bay State
State
Hydraulics.
Hydraulics.
Just before,
Yeah,
It's a big white fence, probably about 6 feet tall.
yeah.
yeah. And I believe there's another one right down here in Palmagussit also that had a comment made a few years ago.
Is it on his driveway, is our, around a curve too, so it's.
No, it's on a straightaway,
Straightaway, okay.
but it might be also a liability because of the person next door trying to drive out. Gotta get
Oh,
out,
you mean if like an accident happened, someone could say, well,
line of
you
sight.
put this in the way, so therefore I crashed, yeah. It's possible.
So,
Was this zone business or residential?
it's Village Center District.
Okay.
That it's something that in the very near future, we're trying to get cranked up and trying to get people interested of creating a business in there, so. I hope it can be handled in the very near future.
Okay, anything else on this one? Like I say, I don't know where it's gonna go, and
Well,
I just don't see we have any
no,
part of jurisdiction on this one. That's,
but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I think we could probably bring it up
Yeah.
as an agenda item and see where the board wants to go with it,
yeah,
you know?
well,
Or future.
maybe the
offenses.
select board can determine if some entity is responsible for enforcing it.
What kind of documentation do we have? I mean, when Harry was doing it, what was the responsibility for Harry? You know, who oversaw all that stuff? Who reported to him?
Yeah.
Who did he report to?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I
We
don't
had to
know.
report back to the select board.
You know, I've got a hunch that viewer fences probably goes more back to agricultural fences.
Yes.
You know, someone puts up a fence to contain their pigs in one area, did they do it on their property or someone else's property or whatever? You know, that's probably the origins of that.
So, if I might, so we're talking about a fence on a road property. Is it too close to the road? Is it obstructing? We're not talking about, was it put in within 10 feet of the neighbor's house? Was there a variance? We're not talking about
no.
that.
It's how close it extends out to the roadway.
Okay,
I don't know whether it is within the right of way of the roadway or not.
It is, it's about 5 to 7 feet into the road
Right of way,
right away.
okay,
okay.
so. Okay. Next item, solar surety, solar field on Pleasantdale Road, Treasure Valley.
Gosh,
The issue, I believe, has been resolved.
resolved.
Our treasurer did, I guess, a major hunt and finally discovered the actual company that now owns it, which I guess it's changed hands, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times since it was built, and like I say, he finally got in contact with the company that owns it, and they have agreed that they will pay I think it's $30-some-odd thousand dollars.
Yeah, 36,000.
That they're in arrears, so.
Yeah.
Is it a good
It's still, because there was a solar committee some time ago, I still feel that there ought to be inspections made on some of these solar fields, how they are progressing. Because their life expectancy was supposed to be 20 years.
Yeah. Mhm.
And how many years have gone by already?
Oh, yeah.
You were hearing it.
We're a little over half or thereabouts, and how many of these panels are working, how many aren't? Are there any that are leaking? You know, I mean, it could, who knows? And that's why I'm saying we may be better off if we had a solar committee to be checking on these things.
Another committee. Is there anything in the bylaws that says that, on the solar bylaw, that the individual or the corporation or whatever has to maintain it and report on it every so many years as to the efficiency?
I don't think so.
Well, they submit a maintenance and operation.
To the fire chief, fire chief has a maintenance and operation procedure
Okay,
that he owns. But if I remember the bylaw correctly, and I apologize, I'm speaking through the chair, is that they're just required to maintain it, there's no reports that they have to provide.
Yeah, that's, my recollection is that there are no reports. I think they are required to report any major failures, you know, or you know, things that-
Dangerous situation.
dangerous situations.
Environmental
you know, they-
impact and stuff.
Yeah, they have the transformers there, if a transformer blows up or leaks, and
But I can't remember a policy that we have regarding it, that's why I asked them what the bylaw on that would.
no.
I'm sure there's an abandonment, but that's totally different than
Yeah.
Yeah, there
what's
is.
the fine line.
And after listening to Dave Putnam talk about his solar field, when the lightning struck out there and they lost half of it, you know, and it took them a long time to get it back up, you know, fixed. And I think things like that, you know, it's something that I think that, if it was not only the fire chief, but I think a solar committee should, you know, be on top of. Nowadays, you don't know what could happen, let's just put it that way, you know? You have, we passed the battery ability in this town here is, you know, and I just think trying to keep everything in line.
Well, I think everybody knows that in a few more years with all the solar panels, we're gonna start having problems.
Yeah.
You know, cause the degradation rate on solar panels after 20 years is substantial,
Very much so.
so.
Yeah, you're not gonna make any money off failing panels,
No.
so it's up whether they can claim them on insurance or.
That's
But
their
that's
problem.
their
Yeah,
private
That's their
business,
problem.
yep.
So,
If I can ask, how many solar farms do we have in town?
5, 6. 2 Treasure Valleys. There's
Massachusetts
Golden
Surety.
Hills.
Yeah, Golden Hills.
Limitations.
There's the one behind
Yeah.
the gun, Rutland Sportsman, that field up there.
Yeah, that's, what did I just call Golden Hills?
Golden Hills.
And the one down
Yeah.
on Wachusett.
Taylor, Jimmy Taylor's place.
I don't know. I lost track of my fingers.
Yeah, I
How many
know.
is that?
A handful. I think we maxed out,
Oh,
I thought that was
Putnam.
the,
Putnam, yeah, there's the other
that was
one.
the, what people, a lot of people said.
Through the chair?
And we had like 3 or 4 more that were going to,
Oh, yeah.
then they had to back off.
They just died.
No
Get
substation.
your information. Does the fire chief report to you or to the select board in the maintenance of that stuff? Doesn't you?
No.
I didn't know if it was a follow-up or not to you, to keep you informed, okay?
It's not a bad idea.
In other words, as you start approving solar stuff, you start understanding the maintenance requirements of what those solar fields will require as years go on. If you wanted to kind of reformulate the bylaw or change things in the bylaw. That's what we're gonna ask.
No, pretty much stops with the police. So,
Well, on the, the reason why this came up is because someone wasn't paying that fee that you guys established, so obviously if no one's
Yeah.
operating, or they're forgetting to pay, we're still gonna get word of it, I guess, from the
well,
treasurer.
yes, yeah, and again, it's the treasurer's business to at least keep track, of
You
that.
went back a few years, I was kinda shocked at how far back it went.
He did, he found it, and
Yeah.
he let us know, and he took care of it, which is good, great. Okay,
Yes, I heard, this gentleman brought up having a solar committee. Is that something that you guys would consider? Or having like an expert available? Because there's so much about solar that I don't think we really know about. Like you said, these panels are 10 years old. What's gonna happen in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
And we have 6 in town?
well, yeah, the thing is, every permit that was granted for a, for a solar farm, has a clause in it that takes care of abandoning or decommissioning, these things. Beyond that, what I mean, if a company owns a field of solar panels, if the solar panels are starting to fail, they're gonna wanna replace them. Otherwise, they're not making any money. They're not getting the money for the solar that's not being generated. So it's not part of our business to go in and say, oh yeah, this solar panel is working fine, oh, this one isn't, oh, you better replace this one. No, that's the
It's their
business's job.
business, but I
That's
mean,
their
I
business.
feel that we should have information about that. Because like I said, are they leaking? Are there something, are they failing? Who knows?
I don't think there's anything to leak out of them.
Well, never say never.
I don't know that, but
Do they have to have like routine inspections or anything like that when they have multiple solar panels and?
I don't think there's anything specific in those maintenance and operation things about regular inspections.
Would the board consider reviewing those bylaws and possibly making a amendment, whatever you guys call them? I apologize, I'm not familiar with a lot of these things, I'm learning as I'm going along.
That's virtually impossible to do. You cannot retrograde any new regulations on something that's already been established.
Would the board consider making a new regulation for things moving forward? Or is it out of the jurisdiction, excuse me, or whatever of this board?
I believe it was the planning board that wrote the solar bylaw,
Yep.
and
Storage too.
Hmm?
Battery storage too.
batteries, yeah, battery storage as well. I wouldn't say no on that sort of thing. I would hesitate to try to put it on a priority list, I'll tell you that right now.
There are other
Something
things
to
first.
review, but thankfully we haven't had major issues. I think that's
Yeah.
the,
What I mean, I can't think of a single issue that we have had other than that one non.
Not yet,
Not yet, that's right, yeah,
Yeah.
not yet.
pretty good.
And can we foresee the future? No.
no,
So, you say, can we put some safeguards in effect? For what? For what?
Yeah.
If you don't know what can possibly happen, how do you do that? So, okay, I don't think it was expected that was going to be a major discussion item.
But maybe we ought to get their names, so in case we do wanna try to get a solar committee started, we have some people that wanna be on it.
If we decide to form a solar committee, we'll definitely post it on.
you want the neighbors that knock on my door.
Okay. Okay.
You can join. Yep.
Something kind of interesting, it's not on our agenda, but it's in our packets. And it's like the last few pages. The last page, both sides of the packet. And since it's in the packets, I'm gonna say that I'll take it up on the unanticipated items. And it regards the payments that Mr. Blair is supposed to be making for the houses on Brittenell Estates.
Yeah,
Tamika has contacted him, and you can see on the back page, I believe, a running dialogue of what has happened. And I don't believe you have the check yet, but I would assume, just from looking at this, it would certainly indicate that it's going to be here very, very shortly. So,
It's about, about half the money so far.
yeah, it was very interesting to say 9, where I saw, I'd like to say that, I thought there were like 10 houses in there, and about 5 foundations going in, so.
So, before, if I may, Norm, before I reached out to Clee, I did a little research with the building department and found that 17 building permits have been issued for between Grizzly Drive and Quail Run. So that was the number that I had included in the correspondence to Clee, and in his response, he said that the keyword is sold and indicated that he has only sold 10 of the 17 lots for which he's pulled permits for.
So,
Is he trying to say occupancy permits
Well,
to
no.
be
No,
considered
it should
sold?
be at the
No.
time of sale according
Sold
to the
means-
special condition.
At the closing,
Just closing.
once it's closed, then it's sold. It's not sold until then. Okay.
But we still don't have a check for it, correct?
But we do have the account that it's gonna go into,
Yes, so
8215.
I think we can anticipate it will be there very soon.
Yeah.
Okay, want to bring up an item that just something that crossed, I shouldn't say crossed my mind, that I've been thinking about. And I'm not gonna ask for any real discussion about it, other than maybe a maybe yes, maybe no. I would like to see if there is some way that we can require as part of a subdivision, or maybe even a lot approval, to require a final topographical grading plan for the entire site of a subdivision or the entire lot.
I agree with that.
I think it is possible, because in speaking with the gentleman from Concom who has done peer review for this sort of thing, he said that he normally does get that, so I would think that's something that we could look for, and it would hopefully help us with some of the issues that we're having right now.
I'm not sure that we can do it, because, and what it is very possible that it could be, we may not be able to do it within subdivision regulations, but we might somehow or other be able to come up with a standalone bylaw regarding grading and earth movement within a site. And the question is, is it worth investigating? That's as far as I'm going on it at this point.
Absolutely, I think.
100%, I feel that, the amount of land around here that might be up for, housing in the future, there's a lot of steepness in some of these places.
Yeah.
And,
So I know
I don't wanna see any of this happening ever again.
there would definitely be a lot of pushback on it.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, but there again,
There are somewhat reasonable reasons for
Yeah.
pushback as well.
I don't wanna see the town sued, after a subdivision and all of a sudden the whole house starts sliding or cracking and,
Yeah.
foundation or kids going out 5 feet the back door and then down the hill they go. No.
Anyway, like I say, I don't know if it can be done.
Well, how can we
Very
find
possible.
out?
Well, that's what I'm asking is, should we investigate?
Yes, and who would be a good one for that?
Quinn, yeah.
Well, we're gonna start with our new planner.
Awesome.
Cool.
Give her her first.
Perfect
her
way to
first-
get the,
First project. That's-
what a way to kick it into gear, I tell you,
that's a
good.
start. That's a start,
Yeah,
okay, and we'll go, hey, we can go to there, we can go to CMRPC, we can
Yes.
go to our engineer, we can go anywhere. But a little bit of investigation, to my way, I think would be the start is, let's take a look at regulations, and not even necessarily subdivision regulations, but other bylaws in other towns. Around the area, see if anybody does anything like it. And that's a start. And then we can go from there.
The current subdivision regulation does require the developer to provide the, to demonstrate how they would be preventing water from falling into adjacent properties. So that is something that should have been included.
Well, that's
In
the
the definitive plan.
stormwater management plan.
Right.
So that we do get, but that's not particularly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm just talking about,
Yeah, topography.
yeah,
Right, I mean, we can look into that, but I just wanna make sure that, there are some,
There's some stuff already.
right.
yeah.
And to add to Delia's point, one point that was made by the Conservation Commission is that as part of that stormwater plan, they are required to provide SWIP reports on a weekly basis, SWPPP. And I was unable to find any in the file.
but that goes to Concom,
Nope, that goes to the planning board
the planning board. Interesting.
as part of the roadway.
And we're supposed to be getting like monthly reports too.
We are.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's a,
Well, if we were getting those, I do have a few things that would kind of probably answer some questions as far as what's the status of, what is that, Brittenell Heights?
Hilltop Estates.
Hilltop Estates, I apologize, off Brittenell where he, went down the road. That still seems to be kind of, under construction, and there's a catch basin at the end that's got a couple cones around it, and it's also draining into the wetlands. His Bear Farm project looks like a dumpster. Every dumpster he has is overloaded. There's trash all over the place. I'm not sure what we can do about it. I know Concom's talking to him about it, but there's a lot of runaround. And I'm wondering how we can leverage something to try and get our hands on this and get it to a status that we're, as a board, hopefully acceptable with.
so, the biggest problem that we had with the monthly reports was that many of these subdivisions, and I'll give you Hilltop Estates as a good example. When's the last time they actually worked on Hilltop Estates?
I think that's kind of the point. I think it was, so the kids were in school, I believe it was February vacation. They said that they had to get it done. And then they said they were waiting for maybe the end of mud season, which was a while ago. But I mean, if we had a report that would help us understand what's going on, what his intentions are.
What I'm saying is the problem with reports is that there are many times that there are many months when there is no activity on some of these subdivisions. And do we really need to require a monthly report when nothing's happening?
I get your perspective, but I think that there's so much going on at each one that requiring it as a matter of like a standard operating procedure is gonna cover our bases. And even if he has nothing going on, which like you said is often the case with some of these, you can say nothing happened at this site this month, copy paste, see you later. But I think that would at least give us some sort of an insight into what's going on, and instead of, it's also a paper trail of what's going back and forth between us, what he is doing, what he says he's doing, what we're watching and seeing. I think it kind of adds to our organizational depth and our ability to.
I have a little thing to throw in there. A slap on the wrist or a fee that he would have to pay if he fails to produce one.
We cannot do that.
You can't.
We cannot levy fines.
Then who can?
Great question.
The select board?
I was told it was not the building inspector when I went through this. We've talked about this last week. I emailed him asking about putting some sort of any type of sanctions on Blair for not having the monthly reports or not putting in these monies, and he was saying that it was not in his purview.
Well, he can, probably not in this kind of a case, but he is one of the town officials that I believe can levy fines.
You could amend the fine table in the general bylaw.
That's it.
I have a question. Are we just speaking about subdivisions, or does this cross the border into A&Rs as well?
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can be stepping on toes then. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
True.
if you're gonna do for one section,
yeah.
it should apply across the board
Yeah.
to everybody.
Like I say, I don't know if it's possible yet.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm talking about exploring it at this point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And where to implement it. I think if you said it's
maybe
difficult
that's
to put it
another
in
thing
the
for our town
subdivision
planner
regs, then where can
to
it
take
go?
a
Well, I think what's tough is all their properties are A&R properties.
Right.
And they're having their issue as well, so it would make sense that everyone, either match or, you know, something the building inspector can say, yeah, you can't, you gotta do it this way, you gotta, Quinn or the building inspector.
Unfortunately, anything like that we put into a spec, will not be retroactively effective.
Yeah.
Can't do that,
Yeah. Good point.
so. But, like I say,
But it's not.
It's not
a-
retroactive, but if he
It's
misses
something I think
another,
we should
another
look into.
report, which is highly likely,
Yeah.
we would be able to take action then.
Because this has gone, I mean, crap sakes, 20, maybe the 30 years roughly, you know, when Blair was building over here, Roman Ridge. And so, yeah, it reports,
I think we started doing that before we had a planner.
yeah, way before, yep.
So we need to follow up on who can actually have some responsibility with that, and then also you said a SWIP reports we're supposed to be getting, I guess we gotta follow up on those too, the stormwater.
It's like stormwater prevention, pollution, protection,
Sounds good enough to
something
me,
like that. I may have made the last 3 Ps up, but it's something like that.
I won't tell.
I'm just wondering if those are ended up going to Quinn. But they shouldn't.
Maybe that's something we could ask him when we see him.
Yeah. He probably should be copied on them. But we should also be getting them. And that's the first I've really even heard of them.
Yeah, that was a concern raised by the Conservation Commission. Now, if it's a project within the Concom's jurisdiction, we receive the SWIP reports. So for example, we get weekly SWIP reports from Mass DOT for the dam project on Palmagussit. And they send them to us weekly, but because Arrowhead Way is not jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission, it would be coming to the planning board because it's part of the roadway.
I don't recall seeing anything like that in 30 years.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't.
Well, we could add it to the regulations maybe, to say that if,
Yeah.
that we provide
It's a
them.
requirement of the stormwater management plan, which a stormwater management plan is required on any 5 single-family dwellings or more.
Okay. Well, we gotta make sure we have Quinn bring in that stormwater management report. That's a definite.
Okay.
I do like that idea though. I
Yes.
think everyone, sounds like everyone is.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with it. Yeah, like I say, right now, it's an idea. Okay. I'm gonna pull a Peter Crane.
Move to adjourn.
Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none.
I made the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Is there any discussion?
do we need, public comment on anything?
You know what? It's not on their agenda. We used to have a public,
That was my error,
yeah.
because my other agenda templates don't have it on there.
I don't care, it's not on it. Does anybody have any other comments that they would like to make tonight?
Yeah, I like your clothes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
For that
Thank you,
fence,
people.
go to Harold.